Hello and welcome to the Valley. Today I am your host, Janet Michael. It is Community Health Day. Every month we jump on a Zoom or meet up with a health professional from Valley Health to talk about a wide range of issues that they offer for our community as a nonprofit healthcare system. Today we're going to talk with Diane Ritchie. She is a licensed clinical social worker. She's also the program director for Valley Health's outpatient behavioral health services. May, if you did not know, is Mental Health Awareness Month. So that's what we're doing today, Diane. We're raising awareness about mental health.
Yes, we are. And the biggest thing I want to let people know is they're not alone and that help is available. And that is what the month of May is about, is to emphasize that it's a great time to check in on yourself and, of course, your loved ones.
I hope that over the last, say, 10 years or so, that the stigma that has always come along with needing mental health services has died down a little bit. I think that it, quite frankly, sadly, it's so widespread that now I think everybody understands that everybody has a mental health moment at some point in their life. I guess that's a good thing.
I believe that it is. Absolutely. I think we are seeing that the stigma is definitely being dispelled. Everyone asks me all the time about the pandemic and how I feel the pandemic has impacted stigma. And I believe that it really did help in the way that it became part of our conversations to talk about our loneliness and feelings of isolation, which before the pandemic, of course, were symptoms of depression. And people now can relate to that and speak freely and openly. And I think that's most important because your well-being and looking at the role that mental health plays in our lives is becoming something that many people want to support others with and also want to offer resources to help others. And I think that that's a good thing.
I think it is grossly misunderstood by a vast number of people how something like depression can suddenly escalate into something that truly is life-threatening and a crisis. I think the word depression, they're like, oh, they're just depressed. And they play that down like it's not a big deal and have no real idea of how quickly something like depression can turn into something way more serious.
Absolutely. And I think also people do not understand or kind of look at others thinking, wow, they look so happy all the time. They can't be depressed. They're smiling all the time. But I really feel like people wear masks. And I think it is essential for people to understand that it impacts every stage of life, regardless of your age or your background or your experiences. You never know what someone is struggling with. So checking in on each other, that's what this month is for. And here at Valley Health and for our behavioral health department, we want to make sure that we are increasing this awareness and we are coming together as a team at Winchester Medical Center to make sure that we are displaying tables over by Starbucks where a lot of people come and visit for their stress relief, and that we have a table available where each week for this month we are representing, whether it be at the cafeteria, at Starbucks, throughout the hospital. We're promoting different events. So we're having green ribbons that recognize mental health awareness, and people can pick up a ribbon and wear that ribbon. We also are having professionals that are at these tables that if you just want to come by and speak to somebody and learn more about our resources. We're also having a day on the 28th of May where you could be seen in green, because green is the color for mental health awareness. So we feel by promoting these events, we could touch others and let others know that we are all here together and we're here to support one another.
There are a wide range of services that you offer through the outpatient behavioral health department in and of itself. It's not just come in, sit down, and talk with a therapist. There are all types of services that you offer.
Yes, for over the past 12 years, we have been building on those programs. We have a specialized senior program. So that is for individuals 65 and older. And then we have adult programs for 18 and older, and we have outpatient services to include the talk therapy that you mentioned, but we also have the intensive outpatient program. And that's a specialized program where people are coming in for group therapy, and they're coming for at least 9 hours a week so we can keep eyes on you. And that is for people who are maybe coming out from a hospital stay for maybe acute psychiatric issues, or maybe it's a step before going into the hospital. We want to catch people before they have further exacerbation of symptoms that cause a hospital stay. So coming into the groups and having purpose and accountability with others in a group setting. We also can have the physicians, our psychiatrists, keep eyes once a week on our patients for follow-up visits. And then we also have a program for teens, and that opened last November, where we have group therapy for 12 to 17-year-olds. And that's a brand new program. And we're excited to be able to offer something for the teens in our community. And then we also have children's services, ages 5 to 17. We provide mental health therapy as well as medication management if needed. 20% of young people ages 6 to 17 experience at least one bout of depression, and more than half do not seek medical care.
Wow.
Yeah. And approximately 23% of Americans suffer from mental illness, such as depression and anxiety, and only about 48% seek treatment.
And I
Yes.
think too that if you don't get that help, particularly when you're younger,
Right.
it really does snowball in to all these other things. When you don't get those coping mechanisms, when
Right.
you're in a crisis at 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, how in the world are you going to be able to deal with peer pressure when you're 16, 17, 18 years old?
And what about the physical health issues that are tied to mental illness? Again, you look at statistics, it shows 40% of us have higher risk of developing cardiac and metabolic diseases for those with depression. So again, if you're leaving your mental health unchecked, you also have the physical health issues. So that is why we need to look at early intervention and making sure that we are taking care of our mental health as much as we would take care of our physical health too. It also contributes to better job performance, lower absenteeism for kids at school or even adults at work, and just overall better economic productivity. And here at Valley Health, we want to support stable and stronger communities, and touching people with their mental health, I think, is going to lead to that as well.
Well, and ideally, if this becomes just something you do, like taking your child to the pediatrician, you could, in theory, make mental health not even high up on the scale of what our country suffers from, because people are at a younger age understanding and learning and getting in. So
Mhm.
it's almost like you could put yourself out of business.
I don't know if that's going to happen, but
Yeah,
yes.
that's a
Uh-huh.
Pollyanna
Yep.
view.
But we'll definitely see improved health outcomes, which is important. And managing our stress, depression, addiction, all of it it's going to close those gaps. That's a start for sure.
A few months ago, I had several individuals on talking about the empath unit. How does the empath unit fit into what you offer through outpatient?
So the introduction of the empath unit really was the cherry on top is how I look at it, because when we have had individuals in our program who may have experience when they come in and we're seeing them in group and maybe they're having more difficulty than what we could provide, we're now able to send our individuals over to the empath unit versus sitting in the waiting room where you're sitting with others who may be bleeding, needing stitches, and someone having heart issues. Now those folks who are having an extreme psychiatric episode can go sit in a warm space in the empath unit where we can go ahead and we know we could refer them, and they're not going to be sitting in the waiting room for the emergency department. They're going to go straight to the empath unit, and they could have a assessment right away as well as a therapist, and we could start the triage to see if we need that individual to maybe step up into the inpatient psychiatric unit, or maybe they just need further stabilization and we're going to see them back in our program the next day. It also has been a really nice continuum of care for those folks that arrive in the emergency department with a psychiatric episode. They go to the empath unit, and then they leave the empath unit to join our program the next day. We are seeing many folks coming from the empath unit, and we are able to send folks from our setting to the empath unit. So I'm so happy it's there.
Last week, I talked with Jenny Grooms, who is the director for the foundations at Valley Health. She was talking about the Stronger Together campaign. And one of the pillars of that campaign is to bring a new mental health pavilion to the Winchester Medical Center campus. Now, we're recording in early May. By the time people are listening mid-May, ground has already been broken on that building. But Jenny was talking about how the community health needs assessment, for the first time in several years, the community has shown that mental health is a priority. Mental health has moved to the top of that list, is now in that top 3 in our area. So being able to connect all these dots is incredibly valuable for those of us that live here.
Yes, it is absolutely a dream come true. When I started these services 12 years ago with that senior population, due to the Shenandoah Valley being a huge area where people retire, and we started working with that population and beginning specialized groups, my dream was we would have an expansion of services. And to see this happen now, as I said, it's just a dream come true. And Valley Health, this is their first facility of its kind in the Valley. And we are going to expand our services that we have for children, adolescents, adults, and our older adults all in one place. So they will be all in one building. And we are coming together to offer our medication management services, our intensive outpatient groups. We also will offer telehealth services where we can reduce wait times in the community over at the primary care clinics. And we'll also offer that continuum of care, as I mentioned before, providing the opportunity for individuals to come in at an early age, and we can provide prevention and early intervention. So we're catching people at early age, and we're keeping eyes on them. And if they need to come back for a tune-up, we're there. And we have an array of services all throughout the life spectrum.
I feel like I need a tune-up. Maybe I should schedule something quarterly just for a tune-up.
We would love to have you. We all need tune-ups, that is for sure. And I think that this is, again, showing the commitment from our Valley Health leaders and the commitment of the community to bring this to our area where for so long we've not been able to have services right here. We've had to go over the mountain to Northern Virginia, go into DC, and many families, individuals, parents cannot take time out of their day to be able to do that. And opening the children and adolescent services last year, to me, was again another opportunity for us to reach a population that we were not working with. And we are so happy now that we are working with that population. We've managed to work with over 700 individuals since July who are ages 5 to 17. So it's just incredible to me to watch this transformation, and now look to next year, next fall, that we'll all be together in one building expanding these services.
Let's take a break. When we come back, can we talk a little bit about these different, I don't want to say target areas, but when you talk about adolescents and then you talk about senior citizens, they each have different mental health challenges. So can we talk a little bit about why mental health services are necessary and why they're different for, say, the 12-year-old than maybe the 70-year-old? Can we get in the weeds on maybe recognizing some signs in the next segment?
Sure. Yeah, absolutely.
We are on the Zooms today with Diana Ritchie. She is a licensed clinical social worker and the program director for Valley Health's outpatient behavioral health services. It is Community Health Day. May is Mental Health Awareness Month. This show every month is sponsored by Valley Health. We're going to come back and talk more with Diane in just a couple of minutes.
Don't let a cringy DJ ruin your wedding day. Celebrate confidently instead with Summit Events Co., the premier entertainment company in the Shenandoah Valley. Summit Events is serving 200 couples a year with 5-star reviewed DJs, photo booths, 360 booths, live music, and more. You can celebrate confidently with Ben Savory, Summit Events founder and chief party officer, who was just named the Top of Virginia Entrepreneur of the Year. Don't risk your wedding. Book a professional at summiteventsco.com. That's summiteventsco.com and on Instagram at Summit Events Co.
Welcome back to the Valley today. I am your host, Janet Michael. It is Community Health Day, sponsored every month by Valley Health. May is Mental Health Awareness Month, so we are on the Zooms today with Diane Ricci. She is a licensed clinical social worker. She's also the program director for Valley Health's outpatient behavioral health services. We've been talking a lot in the first segment about all of the awareness activities that they're doing in and around Winchester Medical Center. We talked about the mental health pavilion that Jenny Grooms told us about a few weeks ago. I'm very excited. The ground has technically broken as people are listening, but not broken as Diane and I are sitting on the Zooms today. But Diane, when we went to break, we were talking about the variation in services that are needed, mostly based on someone's age. So you offer mental health services for children and adolescents, teens, adults, even senior citizens. I think 20 years ago, most people would say, oh yeah, kids only need to go to therapy when their parents are getting a divorce and they're just not adjusting. But that is not the life that we live now in 2025.
Oh, absolutely. Yes. And we're seeing earlier and earlier, as I said, 5 to 12 is our children adolescent program. And our relationships with the schools within our area has really been something to support identifying children at an early age that may need our services, and supporting adults too with how to access our services if they're seeing any behavior changes in their children or their teens, such as withdrawing maybe from activities or difficulty with schoolwork, looking at those first changes in behavior and knowing that there's a place where you can come and have an assessment and see if we need to put in place early therapy, maybe some medication can help. We can look at some physical symptoms and see if those physical symptoms could be early indicators of mental health concerns. We also provide a social skills group for the young ones. That has been a new program that our therapist has provided, and the children really enjoy coming into a group where they can sit with others and they can see that they're not feeling as it's only them that are feeling this way. They see that there's others that they're sitting with, identify the same way as they are. So that early intervention is really important.
I have been saying for years how grateful I am that I do not have to be a parent of a child this day and age. So I got very lucky, and he was just Facebook and all of the social media was just coming in as he was a sophomore, junior, senior in high school. So it wasn't the degree that it is now. And I think sometimes parents who didn't also grow up in that social media culture don't understand the impact that it can have on their kids. They think, oh, then just stay off Facebook or don't get on Instagram. It's not as easy for children these days, and it makes them so much more susceptible.
Yes, absolutely. That's what we see. And I feel like we use that word bullying a lot. It's just become such a catchphrase, but it is truly what's happening. And I don't think it's ever going to change. What we need to do is to help train up our young children with the confidence and the skills to be able to walk away from situations, to feel confident, to develop healthy social skills and form healthy relationships, because social media is not showing you how to do those things. All it is scrolling all day, watching other people and realizing what you might not have. And that is really impacting these children at a very young age. And we're really trying to help the parents understand too, because I think parents too are checking out. They're tired after a long day, trying to meet the needs of their families financially, emotionally, and they're turning to social media as an escape. I think that's impactful for families and children who are watching how their parents cope as well.
In the first segment, we were talking about the continuum of care. So you could have a child who is 7, 8 years old that comes for their first visit because they're having some sort of a mental health issue. And then maybe 2 or 3 years go by, and now suddenly they're a teenager and they've hit some other challenge or another hurdle. They get to come back. And then into adulthood, maybe they suffer the loss of someone in their family and it's the first time. So they're struggling with that in their 20s or even in their 30s. And then we get into that senior citizen set that has a whole new set of unique challenges that
Yes,
come with
yes.
aging in our society. You really
Mhm.
can check that box. And there is the potential for someone from the age of 5 years old into the age of 85 years old, even
Yes,
able to
yes.
stay within the Valley Health mental health system.
Yes, it's a one-stop shop. That's how I see it. It's a one-stop shop where we can keep eyes and where we want to provide a safe place, a place where there's comprehensive services, continuum of care, and a place that is for healing and recovery. And that is our goal. We are just super excited to be able to meet the needs of all the different ages. There's different times in your life where things happen. And if you know that there's a place to go, I feel that that helps you know that it's okay to reach out again. We have seen many people come back. That's always how I greet anybody I see that has been with us previously. I'm so glad you found your way back to us. And I think that is what we have developed in our community. And I'm so looking forward to growing this and see over the years that people know that there's a place for healing. And it's right here through the Valley Health System at Winchester Medical Center.
I think too, so many times when we think about needing to get some sort of mental health services, we think of a crisis that we're already in. I think people need to also look at it more from a preventative perspective as well. So let's say you do have a death in the family and you think, oh, it's fine. I'm going to be sad for a little while and then I'll get over it. But maybe you don't get over it, or you think you've gotten over it, but your family and your friends are noticing that maybe you've not gotten over it like you thought you have. Being able
Mhm.
to sit down in the moment and have a conversation with someone about what you're feeling can keep you from getting to that crisis point maybe a year down the road.
Yes, and knowing that there are others like you, I think that's the importance of groups as well. That's where I love the group modality is that you come in and you could see that there are others that are experiencing the same thing that you might be. And even coming in just for therapy or medication management, knowing that if that's still not working, there's other alternatives or something else we can try. That is what I think has been wonderful putting all these services together is people can come in and out of each service whenever you need it. Even if you just need to come in for an assessment and your family is recognizing that maybe something could be wrong, you have an assessment and you walk away saying, "No, I'm okay. I just might need to have one therapist that I'll see weekly, or maybe I'm going to start groups for a couple of weeks." But I did check in and the assessment showed me what I needed. And now I have all the services in one place that I can go right into and then leave when I need to and then come back when I need to.
One thing that I have always appreciated from having been in therapy, in and out of therapy over the years myself, is you get the tools. So you could be in the middle of a situation and you keep thinking to yourself pre therapy, hey, why do I keep doing it this way? Well, you go and you find out why you keep doing it that way and you learn to recognize and what to do instead that really makes for a better path forward. It's one of those things that I think until you've had it, you can't
Mhm.
fully appreciate how beneficial it is to you.
That's right. And what a gift you give yourself. And working with the young people, it's the same thing. We're trying to catch them young enough, have that prevention where we could start to teach those coping skills. We could start teaching them different ways of thinking or looking at your thoughts and your feelings so you can carry that through adolescence, which is such a difficult time and a difficult stage, and then also bring it through adulthood and through your senior years. Because really, every situation you go through in your life, if you can come back to those coping skills and realize, hey, I do have a toolbox that I can pull from. It does help whenever there's difficult situations that occur.
When we're talking about senior citizens in particular, they have their own set of unique challenges based on just the aging process. Maybe they're not as mobile as they used to be. Sometimes they're a little more prone to different types of disorders and diseases and injuries and things along those lines. Families,
Mhm.
we tend to grow up and move away. So we're not
Mhm.
always living
Mhm.
next to our parents or our grandparents. There's a lot that could impact seniors when it comes to mental health.
Yes. And that's a population I think is forgotten sometimes. And it's really important to check on our older adults and for our primary care providers in the community to check on the patients they're serving and check on their mental health. What we try to do is provide purpose. I think that's what gets lost when you retire and you may not be a golfer or you may not want to travel and you start to just isolate and stop seeing your friends. The more that you are isolating, you feel less confident in your communication skills, or maybe you've lost your significant others. So lots of grief and loss, and being in a place where you can talk about those things. Again, just like we talked about all the other ages, it's just being able to sit with others or even just have somebody listen to you for an hour and know that you are heard and know that somebody is truly trying to give you a sense of you again. Because I think in that population, you really lose who you are if you do not have the tools, or if maybe you've been taught all your life, you don't talk about your feelings. Another thing that we hear often is depression is part of aging. So you're just going to be depressed if you're old. Dispelling those thoughts and those myths and undoing some of that. I have seen lots of success with our seniors who are coming in. And as you said, maybe dealing physically with issues or dealing with loss of a spouse and not knowing how to move forward. Just being able to sit and listen has been very beneficial and therapeutic.
So, for anyone who's listening and something that we have said today has struck a chord of some sort, how easy is it for them to reach out to outpatient behavioral health services at Valley Health? Should they call? Should they go to the website? What is the best first step for them to take?
You can do both. You can call and speak to one of our intake therapists, and that phone number is 540-536-4881. And you will just press the number for the services that are on the phone tree, or you can go to valleyhealthlink.com/behavioral health. And you'll see our website, and it speaks to our outpatient services and our different programs.
Again, we can't say it enough. There's no shame in making a phone call and making an appointment and going in and just saying, look, this is where I am. I don't know if I'm in a good place or a bad place, but I need somebody to explain this to me. That's perfectly fine and perfectly normal and encouraged.
That is exactly right. And we just want to speak with you. So we will just do a screening over the phone. It's an opportunity just for you to talk to somebody who is trained to listen to you and listen about what you're experiencing and see if this is the right place for you. We also provide referrals. So if it's not the right place, we can go ahead and provide referrals or resources in the community, which could be helpful. And if it is, we'll go ahead and make an appointment where you will come in and sit down, and we will assess and see how we can best support you.
Diane, thank you for taking some time today to give me some insight into all of the different faces of mental health. I do appreciate it.
Thank you, Janet. We appreciate you.
I will be back tomorrow with a brand new episode of The Valley Today, a few minutes after noon, so meet me here then.